Alright guys, on today's episode Up and Running, we're going to see if we can get that 64 F100 running. Hopefully we can, and hopefully it'll drive around. So stay tuned and I hope you enjoy it. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, ring the bell right next to it for the notifications, and click the like button. Alright, this truck's got no spark right now, so we're going to go ahead and figure out why. The first thing we're going to do is take a look at the coil and see if the coil is any good. So what I did is I ran a positive lead from the battery to the positive on the coil, and then I hooked a negative wire from the negative on the coil and just left it loose, and I'll show you why in a second. I put the spark light in here so you'll be able to see it, and I took the spark plug wire from the number 1 cylinder and plugged it into the coil. So what's going to happen here is when we touch the negative wire to a ground, you should see, hopefully you can see it, hopefully you can see that that light is lighting up. And what that's telling me is that the coil is good. So we know that's good, so we're going to move on to the points down in the distributor. All right, so from there we're going to go ahead and follow the negative wire off the coil. It should go into the distributor, and we're going to take a look at the points and the condenser and the cap and rotor and just see what's good and what's not. Cap looks pretty good. Rotor looks real good. They look fairly new. I suspect somebody's replaced them at some point. The points don't look the best. I'm going to go ahead and just replace those and put a new condenser on it as well. That's probably the culprit for our issue. points. Let's take a little better look at them. You're probably not going to be able to see this, but it looks like they're a little bit burnt. Yeah, there's something funny going on with them, so we'll just go ahead and replace them. So we got the new points here. They look the same. Condenser looks a little different, but I think it'll work. It'll reach around there, and it'll be just fine. So just a little bit different design. Ground wire inside the distributor looks good, and the wire up to the negative on the coil looks good. So we're going to go ahead and put this all back together. Alright, something's not laying flat in there. I'm going to pull this back out and take a look at it. Oh, okay, there's a little pin that's got to get dropped down into a hole. That's probably what's going on. Alright, I got everything set back together in there. What I need to do now is this little white piece of plastic needs to be up on the top of one of those lobes so I can set the gap on this. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the engine by hand and position it that way so I can get a feeler gauge in there to set the gap. Need to set this to about 18 thousandths. That's what I found online. So hopefully, I mean, they're typically all in that neighborhood. What you do is you kind of just snug the screws up, and then you rotate it. There's a little device in here with a little notch in it that you rotate to, and it'll hold, and then you can set the gap. That's probably pretty close. Okay. All right, that's all back together. So just slide this back on. Alright, we got clearance. I just wanted to make sure everything was going to clear properly. What I'm going to do before I put it back together, I'm going to crank the engine a little bit and watch and make sure the points are working properly, and then I'll double check the gap again. The good news is I see fire in there, so hopefully we'll be in good shape now. Just going to rotate it by hand and check that gap one more time. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and crank it and watch the light. I'm going to make sure you guys can see it. Let me take the camera down and see if we got spark. Look at that, we got fire now, so that's awesome. I'm going to pour a little gas in it and see if she lights. Just going to put a little bit in so in case something really bad happens, there's not a ton of gas in there. Alright, just making sure everything else is out of the way, ready to go, and here we go. Woohoo, she lit. Alright, we'll pour a little more gas in it and see what happens. Trying to see if there's a vent on this carburetor, but I don't see one. I think it's right there and it just goes into the open area of the carburetor, so I'm just pouring this gas over the top of it. But that should be enough. Let's see if it fires again. think it runs. So now we need to move on to the fuel system and see what's going on with that. Alright, I ran a line from the input side of the fuel pump into a can of gas, just a gallon can of gas. So we'll see if this fuel pump will suck up fuel into the carburetor. So I poured a little bit in. So we'll see if it starts. It's going to take a couple times, I'm sure. Idle. Awesome. The oil pressure light is off, so that's good news. It sounds awesome. We do have oil flowing up top. Nothing's pouring out below either, so that's great news as well. Shut it off. The oil pressure light came back on when I shut it off as well, so that appears to be working. So this is awesome. This thing sounds good. Alright, now we'll work on, see what's going on with the fuel tank. Alright, that'll do it for today's episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Glad we were able to get that truck running. Stay tuned next time. We're going to rebuild the carburetor on it, so hopefully it runs even better yet. So thanks again for watching. Out! Still feels good. Got a little shock. The battery was on, so that just kind of wakes you up in the morning.